Over the last 20 years, Japan's economy has been going nowhere fast. Prime Minister Abe says the answer could be so simple. Give working women the chance to shine. But will the men and women of Japan take up the challenge to change? I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we investigate if Japan can bridge its gender gap.
It's the lunchtime rush, and cuteness is in overdrive at the Maid Dreamin' Cafe in Tokyo, where there's magic. Your beverages are given a bit of love. And where Japan's traditional conservatism goes out the window. Youth and civility is prized above all else here.
Forever 17 です。Forever 18. Forever.
Patrons are paying more for the performances and interaction with the girly staff than the meals they serve up. While cafes like these in Japan appear to be harmless fun, their success is also symptomatic of broader attitudes towards women here.
I think being with someone like a maid would be good. They make me feel like they obey me.
29-year-old Kazuki Minakawa would like his wife to be more like these maids.
My wife is more powerful. She scolds me. I'm under her. In Japan, traditionally women do the housework while men are out working. This is how it has been since my parents' generation, and I've been brought up that way. So honestly speaking, I think men should work and women should stay home do the housework.
It's viewpoints like this Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has to battle as he promotes his vision for kickstarting a stagnant economy. A vision that relies heavily on the country's women.
There is a theory called Womenomics, which asserts that the more the advance of women in society is promoted, the higher the growth rate becomes. Creating an environment in which women find it comfortable to work is no longer a matter of choice for Japan. It is instead a matter of the greatest urgency. I declare my intention to create a society in which women shine.
As the population ages, it's estimated that by 2050, Japan will lose a whopping 40% of its workforce, and also its ranking as the world's third largest economy. But the government wants as many women workers as men to fill the gap, which could increase GDP by as much as 13%. Japan's women are among the most highly educated in the developed world, but they're also a resource the country has been unable or unwilling to tap into. Now, the government wants to change that, setting a target to increase the number of females in leadership positions to 30% within 5 years. We'll be meeting 3 women making an impact on the Japanese workplace and society. An activist, an engineer, and a mayor. But first, what do men think? In Tokyo's central business district, we hit a favourite haunt of Japanese workers. Here, deals are done and connections are made. But women are rarely seen at these establishments, and opinions are mixed about their place in the workforce.
My wife works and I think it's normal. She's been working for 25 years and raising 3 children.
The wife is supposed to stay home and take care of kids. That's a tradition, the Japanese way.
I want my wife to stay home and protect my family.
Takashi Yamazaki is a business and IT consultant who owns 2 companies employing 28 people. He's also a father.
I don't want my children to miss their mother, and I want my wife to spend as much time as possible with my children. I think I have a typical Japanese family with 1 to 2 kids, an average family.
At his home in the city's suburbs, Yamazaki is enjoying the attention of his children while he can. He travels half of the year and works punishing hours. He says Japan's corporate culture doesn't leave much room for flexibility with family.
Japanese companies are usually very strict about time. Being late at work and leaving early are basically not allowed. You lose credibility if you do so. You should keep working hard for the company, no matter what, even if your kid is sick. I think many people cannot accept to be flexible on this. If a mother has to take leave due to sick children, many of her colleagues would have a very low tolerance of her.
His wife, Shiori, is a bookkeeper at an insurance company, does all the household chores and takes care of the children. Now she'd like to quit her job as the pressure of trying to do everything is proving too much. Shiori's not alone. 1/3 of all Japanese women prefer to be a housewife.
It's hard to have a balance between work and home, so I want to reset my life by leaving this job and decided to help my husband's business and take care of my family.
Yamazaki is skeptical the government will be able to achieve its goal of 30% of leadership positions filled by women.
There are talented women who cannot find jobs after having kids. And those women who should be taking higher positions face difficulties due to men's old ways of thinking.
But Yamazaki himself hasn't hired any females, as he thinks there are some jobs women just can't do.
Have you ever had any female applicants?
There was one woman we wanted who had skills and experience, but business trips were a problem. There was a man who had a similar profile, but this woman had a better one. We considered factors like frequent business trips and also if one can work in long term. We chose the man at the end. Japan is a male-centred society. Especially those who hold higher positions in big corporates often question the capabilities of women.
To find out just what it's like for a woman at the top, I've come to Sendai, northern Japan's largest city. It's in the midst of its annual Tanabata festival, Japan's largest. Sendai has been celebrating this festival since the city was founded more than 400 years ago by samurai Masamune Date. He was a legendary warrior known as the One-Eyed Dragon, who probably never imagined that his city would be lorded over by a woman. Amika Okuyama is a trailblazer. She became the first female mayor of a major city in the country. When she entered Sendai's council more than 30 years ago, she was lucky. She rode a wave of changing attitudes.
I started working in 1975, the same year that the United Nations Decade for Women program began. So I had to present myself as a role model.
Unlike other women who struggle to get ahead in Japan, she says she was treated like a star attraction.
In Japanese, there's a common saying, hitiyoshi panda, or crowd-gathering panda. And I was appointed as a female official in the municipality to play the role of that panda.
Everyone much care about panda. So I was one of the pandas in Sendai Municipal Department here.
You were the star?
Yeah, one kind of star.
Mayor Okuyama uses her position to help other women in her council and community. Her staff say the mayor inspires many other females rising through the ranks and encourages them to network.
We
discuss the problems we have and have a comfortable enough relationship with each other to talk openly. It was Ms. Okuyama who initiated these occasions.
As one of the role models, I think I should actively pursue my role. When someone was given a chance to get promoted to a higher position, but wavering to make a decision, I would give her a supportive push and encourage her to challenge. I feel it would be boring to become a female mayor working the same way as a male mayor would. So it's one of my goals to become a mayor who values my own gender as a female.
One policy area the mayor is focusing on is nursery care. 7 years ago, Sendai City had the highest number of children on a waiting list in the country. But things have improved under Mayor Okuyama.
The number in Sendai is still very low, and I've been working to increase the capacity by 1,000 every year.
This is one of 5 nurseries that opened last month in Sendai. The Cosmos Nishiki Nursery School has a capacity for 90 children, but the city is urging them to take more.
They want to reduce the number of children on the waiting list to 0. Sendai City on the whole has many children waiting, and they ask us to accept 20% more than the capacity. This is what they have asked of all nursery schools in the city.
A lack of access to childcare is a major barrier for mothers looking to return to work. The government wants to create 400,000 childcare spots by 2018 to meet increasing demand and help mothers. Mothers like Kote Anbe, who grabbed the offer of a place at this nursery.
I cut short my maternity leave as I wanted to continue working.
While 36-year-old Murakami Miharu can only now start looking for work. She waited 8 months before she could get care for both of her children.
There are 2 or 3 nursery schools where I lived, but I couldn't get them in. So when this school opened in July, I finally got a spot.
There are other challenges facing women too. Challenges that have had a devastating impact on Sayaka Osakabe.
I have experienced 2 miscarriages, and I still don't have any children. During my first pregnancy, I was in charge of a project. I often worked until midnight because this project wouldn't move forward without me. Then I lost the baby.
Osakabe hopes to one day spend quality time with children of her own, as she does now with her mother. After her first miscarriage, she had another try. But her employer said she couldn't have both work and a family.
I took days off and stayed in bed on my doctor's advice. Then my boss came to my house and demanded that I give up renewing my contract and stop working. I consulted the Human Resources Department and was told I am greedy to try to have both work and a baby.
She lost that baby too. Osakabe's experience has propelled her into the spotlight. She spoke out against what's called matahara, or maternity harassment, where a woman is demoted or pressured to quit for being pregnant.
As a result of this media coverage and also the trend of the time, on 26 June, the prevention of matahara was included as part of the important government policy to promote women.
It's a time for celebration. Osakabe's NGO, Matahara.net, is now 1 year old. Since then, she supported other women who, like her, experienced the worst of matahara and has lobbied for legislative change. She has her work cut out for her, with 1 in 5 women in Japan experiencing discrimination for being pregnant. Today, Osakabe is meeting with a trade union to discuss amending a parental leave law. She wants restrictions in the legislation to be relaxed, as 60% of women quit their job after their first birth. The figure is worse for women who make up nearly 3/4 of the female workforce, those on irregular contracts.
Only 4% of the irregular female employees have had maternity leave, which shows it's a long way to go for women's career development. This way, irregular employees will remain irregular employees forever. And if you get fired for being pregnant, then you'll be hired as an irregular employee again when you come back to work. If they're serious about making women shine, then it should be for all women, including irregular employees.
This woman, who we'll call Yumi, is fighting to keep her job, but finding it difficult because of irregular contracts. She agreed to return to her teaching job on reduced hours and pay and on a temporary contract. Her company promised to make her full-time whenever she was ready, but when the time came, it reneged.
But they said no, because I'm not ready. That's what they said. Or maybe you could be absent from work easier than before.
Her male supervisor took it one step further. Yumi secretly recorded him saying he thinks mothers shouldn't work at all and should be supported by their husbands. Yumi's contract has come up for renewal, and she's been told she's not welcome back. Without a job, she's now considering legal action. Back in her home office, Osakabe continues her battle against Matahara and is outlining her campaign to a Japanese newswire. She believes that without resolving these issues, Japan will not be able to keep women in its workforce, and its economy will continue to suffer.
Maternity harassment victims told me things like they felt guilty to be pregnant, it was better not to be pregnant, and they don't want to be pregnant again. When women see others being harassed, they might think they'll be the next victims, and they quit their work in silence or they try to delay their marriage and pregnancy. Do you see how much maternity harassment directly affects the declining birth rate and economy? There'll be no future for Japan without solving these problems.
There is groundwork being laid to keep the next generation of females in work and climbing to the top. Shiori Sasaki doesn't look like someone pushing Japan's workplace boundaries, but at 23, she's very much the face of the future Prime Minister Abe sees for his country, a place for women to shine.
I might be a little boyish. I guess I'm not obedient, and I'm the kind of person who tends to compete with others. I probably don't fit the stereotypical image of a Japanese woman.
Sasaki works for a construction company, Japan's Nishimatsu Corporation. The newly graduated civil engineer is working on infrastructure projects, including a tunnel on this site.
Since I was small, I've always wanted to do something big, which people will remember for a long time. I've been willing to work like a man since I decided to join this sector, and I've conveyed this willingness in advance. So they don't really treat me in a special way. But yes, a bit maybe. For example, they make sure to provide a separate bathroom for women. Something basic, you know. Oh well, maybe I shouldn't take it for granted.
She's the only female on the job. Rather than being daunted by this, her manager says Sasaki's presence has lifted the game of her colleagues and made working here more pleasant.
She's bringing a lot of vitality to the construction site. This is wonderful. You will see flowers have been planted near the bathrooms. So having a female worker around is changing the male worker's mentality. Now we are encouraged to keep the place clean and tidy. The construction site is often described as being hard work, dirty and dangerous. So it doesn't have a good image. But I think that image is changing for the better as female workers enter the industry. I think it's great.
Nishimatsu is working hard to attract and retain young talent. They've established a diversity initiative program that will allow both women and men more flexibility at work.
The number of young people who wish to work in the construction industry is decreasing. There are women and also male workers who are caring for their parents who wish to continue working. So for those workers, it is important to establish the diversity initiative to bring more people, especially young people, to enter this industry.
These are all positive steps for Sasaki. She's already part of a team overseeing this group of subcontractors and has hopes of becoming a manager one day.
I haven't experienced raising children yet, so I can't really imagine how it'll be. Yes, the working hours are long in this sector, and I'm worried if I can work and raise children at the same time. I hope I can find a way to handle both, since I want to be a manager someday. My ideal life will be raising children while I do my work perfectly. I want to be a person who can handle both work and private life, including having children.
Back in Sendai, the city is welcoming a dancing troupe from West Japan. As usual, the key people sit with Mayor Okuyama at the front. The only other woman, the dance ambassador. The mayor is keenly aware of the challenges ahead for the government to reach its goals for more women in leadership, but she remains positive.
I feel that there is still a glass ceiling in Japanese society. I think it's difficult to achieve the goal in 5 years, but it might be possible in 10. When one is climbing up the ladder, she might feel the wind blowing against her. But after she reached the leading position, people would accept her as she is, and there would be no more opposing wind anymore.
At the Maid Cafe in Tokyo, the waitresses are still playing out their feminine fantasy roles. But they tell me when they leave the cafe, they also leave their fictional characters behind.
You think you would be like this at home?
This is a concept cafe, so we create an environment where the patrons can enjoy themselves accordingly. I always keep that in mind while I'm serving my customers. But as for my private life, I prefer to have an equal relationship with men.
Japan is rich in tradition and remains one of the most advanced economies in the world. But its demographic reality is forcing it to adapt to shifting tides. Changing attitudes towards its women will not only allow them a greater share in its society, but could very well solve the country's economic woes.